Hey, it's Christian Martin. Welcome to part 2 of the Intro to Facebook Advertising. Today we're going to talk about how to measure the performance of your ad and what goes into producing an advertisement that actually works for your client. So what kind of things determine the performance of your ad? The relevancy of your ad to the audience that it's reaching is one of the biggest factors. So how well does this ad perform in relation to other ads that are reaching the same audience? That's called the relevance score, and you can find it in your Facebook ads dashboard. I'll show you that in just a second. Your bid determines how your ad will do. We're mostly going to use an automatic bid in this program, which means Facebook will determine the bid for us. So you don't actually have to worry about manually bidding at this time. Competition from other advertisers. So which audiences are you targeting? And your optimization objective. I've mentioned before, we're going to use conversions as our optimization objective for every single campaign in this program. That's going to give the algorithm a goal to hit, which is leads. So how do we know how our campaign is doing? We know based on key performance indicators. We often refer to these as KPIs, and a KPI is just a unit of measurement that tells us what's going on with our campaign. So some common KPIs include things like cost per click, cost per lead, cost per sale. You've probably heard these before. Don't worry, I'm going to go through each one, and we're going to talk about micro conversions and macro conversions. If this sounds like a foreign language at the moment, don't worry, we're going to go through step by step. So what are some micro conversions or indicators that will tell us how our campaign is doing? Micro just means at a smaller scale. So what are the little things going on that will tell us if our campaign and our advertisement is working or not? We have things like click-through rate, cost per 1,000 impressions, relevance score, cost per click, cost per lead. And we're going to go into each one of these individually. But first, let's ask ourselves, what is our goal with this advertising campaign? Why are we doing it? We're not doing it to get page likes or clicks to our page or anything like that. Ultimately, we want to achieve our ultimate objective at the lowest cost. Now, for most clients, that's going to be an actual sale. So someone coming into their business and giving them money. Now, as a lead generation expert, your objective might be the lowest cost per lead, but it could also be, like I said, the lowest cost per sale or cost per acquisition. Ultimately, we want the cost per sale to be as low as possible, and we do that by optimizing for the lowest cost per event that is closest to the sale. So if you don't actually know how many of your business's leads are turning into sales because they don't want to share the information with you, then your job is going to be to get the lowest cost per lead. And that's the closest event to a sale that you can track. Now, if they do share that information with you, or you're selling straight from an order form and you can actually track that through Facebook, you're going to want to optimize your campaigns for the lowest cost per sale. Now, if you're a pro-level marketer, you also want to maximize the average order value. Now, most of the time, you're not going to be dealing with this because you're just offering lead gen services at this time. I just want to point this out because I want to point out some things that experts in the industry will tell you so that you're aware of it, so that you're aware of when you move on to bigger and better things, you know these concepts already. Now, you don't have to know them up front just to generate leads for a local business, okay? This is kind of the starting point. Go out there, make some money, replace your income with local lead gen, and then you can move on up to the big leagues, and you'll have to be more aware of some of these concepts. But the average order value is just the average amount of money that each new customer is worth to the business that you're bringing in. So the cost per sale matters, but let's say that one sale is worth $20 and another is worth $200. You're going to want to maximize for that sale that's worth $200 if the cost per sale is going to be close to one another. Again, don't worry about this. If you end up offering consulting services, you can dive more into this. But as a lead gen expert, it's not so much your job to restructure the business's pricing structure. And it's more your job just to get leads to show up to the business. So let's keep going through these metrics. And again, this is a high-level overview, so we will dive into each of these in campaign optimization and improvement and things like that in future videos. So the next metric is cost per 1,000 impressions. This is abbreviated CPM. That means cost per mil. And what that means is cost per 1,000 times that your advertisement is shown to an audience. So it's the price that you pay to Facebook to display your ad 1,000 times. Now you can see over here in the Facebook ads dashboard, On the right-hand side, you see CPM, cost per 1,000 impressions. Right there, it's going to tell you how expensive it is to advertise to the audience. Now, the CPM is going to be determined by a number of different things. The more relevant your ad, the more people who are clicking through your ad, and the less competition for your audience, the lower your CPM is going to be. So if you're targeting a highly competitive audience and you have a really bad ad, your CPM could be over $100 to display 1,000 times. Now, if you have a great ad that your audience loves and it's not too competitive, your CPM could be under $10. Just know that's an indication of how expensive it is to show the advertisements. The next thing is the click-through rate. This is abbreviated CTR. And the click-through rate is the amount of people who clicked your ad divided by how many times it was shown. So if you show your ad 100 times and 2 people click through the advertisement to your landing page, that's a 2% click-through rate. Now, a good click-through rate on Facebook is anywhere from 1 to 2%. So most of the people that see your ad, even with an amazing advertisement, are not going to click through your ad. And the click-through rate that we're focused on is the link click. That means people actually clicked through, because Facebook will also show you the click-through rate based on people who liked your page or who liked the advertisement, but we're not as much concerned with that. Now, if you're over a 2% click-through rate, that means more than 2 out of 100 people are going to click through your ad and go to your landing page. You most likely have a great ad and a low cost per click. We're going to get to cost per click. So you can see down here in the dashboard, we see the link click-through rate on this particular campaign. It is 3.39%. That's an awesome click-through rate. And as you can see, leads and clicks are super cheap as a result. Because so many people are clicking on this ad, the audience is responding so well to it. We're getting leads for under $4, and we're getting clicks for under $1. The next thing is the cost per click, which I've mentioned. Cost per click is the amount of ad spend divided by how many clicks you've received on that ad. So these are all just calculations based on the results you've gotten on a particular amount of ad spend. So you can see we track this in our spreadsheet, and it's just the cost divided by the number of clicks. So up here we have a campaign that has spent $8,000 in that month, and it got 4,514 clicks. That's going to be a cost per click of $1.78. Now down here, you're also going to be able to find this information in your Facebook ads dashboard. So down here, we see this campaign has 598 clicks and a cost per click of 94 cents. So that's just a micro conversion there. How many people are clicking through your ad? What's the click-through rate, and how much does it cost to get one click? Now, a low cost per click in general is better than a high cost per click, but only if it translates into leads and sales. So it doesn't matter how low your cost per click is or how high your click-through rate is. If those people are not actually turning into leads and sales, it's a waste of money. So that's why we optimize for conversions instead of clicks. If we optimized for click-through rate or clicks, we most likely would get a lower cost per click, but higher cost per lead and sale. So lowering the cost per click in general, if you're optimizing for conversions, will also lower the cost per lead and sale. But if you switch your objective, most likely you're going to get cheap clicks. That's just a bad quality traffic. That means these are people who aren't likely to buy. Now the next KPI is the cost per lead. This is in general going to be the most important to us as lead generation experts, because we want to get our clients the most amount of leads for the least amount of money. Now we want these leads to be qualified. We want them to be the right leads, but in general we want to push that cost per lead down. So cost per lead is simply the amount of advertising spend divided by the amount of leads acquired. So the more leads you acquire for the same amount of money, the lower your cost per lead will be. You calculate that just by ad spend divided by leads, and Facebook will calculate this for you in your dashboard based on your custom conversions, which we go through in another video. So I'll show you an example of this. In our spreadsheet, we have cost per lead over here. So we spent $8,000. We got 1,346 leads. That is going to factor out into $596 per lead. Now we can also see cost per lead down on our Facebook dashboard. Here's the other example. We've got 1,695 clicks and that resulted in 372 leads for a cost per lead of $4.65. So if we were testing two ads and we were targeting the same audience, and one ad had a cost per lead of $8 and one had this $4.65, we can surmise that the ad with a lower cost per lead is giving us a better performance. Now, I mentioned a lot of this stuff is based on your relevance score, because Facebook's number one priority is making its users happy and keeping them coming back. Now, these are the front-end users, not the advertisers, because if the front-end users leave, if your everyday average person on Facebook leaves, then there will be no one to advertise to. So first and foremost, Facebook has to make sure that its audience is happy with the ads that are being shown. So we can figure out how much our audience likes our ad relative to other advertisers based on our relevance score. So this means the relevance score is measured relative to other advertisers targeting to the same audience. You can see a campaign down here. The relevance score is at the ad level, which means you don't have a relevance score for your campaign or your ad sets, only for specific ads, and they have to display more than 500 times for you to get a relevance score. So if an ad is brand new, it will not have a relevance score. Now, this is on a scale of 1 to 10. The closer you get to 10, the better your ad, and the cheaper it's going to be to display these advertisements. So you can see this ad has a relevance score of 9. And as a result, I'm getting a CPM of $19.92. Now, since I have such a cheap cost per 1,000 impressions, that's also going to translate into cheap clicks and then ultimately into cheap leads. So the higher our relevance score, in general, the cheaper it's going to be to display advertisements, because Facebook likes us, it knows the audience likes us, and it's making the users happy, and it's making us happy to display good advertisements. So we want to shoot for a high relevance score. If we have a very low relevance score, it's going to translate to higher cost per click and higher cost per lead. Now, if this works for our objectives, that's fine. But in general, we want to drive this relevance score higher and higher to get cheaper and cheaper costs. So those are some micro conversions and indicators that we can look at to determine if our ads are working. But like I said, the macro conversion is what we're ultimately concerned about. What is our cost per sale and our cost per acquisition? So no matter how cheap our micro conversions are, no matter how cheap our leads are, how cheap our clicks are, if they don't turn into sales for someone, then it doesn't matter. Then we can't keep spending money on Facebook. So the CPA, the cost per acquisition or sale, is just the amount of ad spend divided by how many sales were made. Now, if you sell from an order form, for example, when you bought into this program, you bought directly through an order form. So I can track that with my Facebook Pixel, and I know directly in my Facebook dashboard what my cost per sale is. Now, if somebody has to come into the office, like some of my clients, their leads have to come into the office and get an intro session, then you have to track how many sales were made manually, because the Facebook Pixel doesn't know who ended up buying. So you can see up top here we have retargeting campaign where we can see the cost per sale. We can see 9 purchases on that at $3.88 per purchase. So that's retargeting. Normally your sales are not going to be that cheap. It depends on what you sell, but for most advertisers, it's going to cost more per sale than that. Now you can see down here, here's a more typical campaign. If you're selling a high-priced item, so if what you're selling is worth a couple $1,000s, then oftentimes you can pay $1,000 to get a new customer, and you're totally happy with that. So you can see this campaign down here did 10 purchases at $659 per purchase. So that means this campaign spent $6,591.70 to get 10 people to buy. Now, as long as that purchase is worth enough money, that's fine to spend that much money to acquire a customer. So in the next video, we're going to dive into calculating how much can you spend to get a sale? How much can you spend to get a lead? And then we'll work backwards and figure out what our target KPIs are for a new campaign. All right, so those are our main KPIs, our key performance indicators that are going to indicate to us how our ad campaign is doing. It's going to allow us to compare different ad campaigns to one another and see which one is doing better, and ultimately to gauge our success. Now, I know we haven't calculated what we want our KPIs to be at. Like I said, we'll do that in the next video. For now, just familiarize yourself with these terms. There is a Adespresso guide below this video. Go through and read through that multiple times. That's going to go over the same stuff we just went over, and it will familiarize you with these terms. Because if you're brand new to this, let's be honest, this can be overwhelming and confusing. That, again, as I always say, is perfectly normal. Everything will be overwhelming and confusing at first, and you just have to go through, practice, familiarize yourself with it, and then it will all start to click. So I'm going to jump in right now and show you how to customize your dashboard in Facebook so that you can see the proper KPIs show up in your dashboard. Let's do that right now. So at minimum, we want to include everything we're tracking in our actual spreadsheet. The amount spent, clicks, cost per click, leads, cost per lead, click-through rate, cost per 1,000 impressions, number of impressions, bookings. If we have bookings being tracked, for example, if somebody signs up on a calendar for an intro session, and then if possible, cost per sale or cost per strategy session or call or calendar booking. But for a lot of you, you're just going to track cost per lead. It's going to stop there. And then ultimately your client is going to be responsible for tracking the cost per sale and how many sales are made. And I show you how to do that in another video. Here we are inside one of my ad accounts, and I'm going to show you how to set up your dashboard. So when you log in, you might not see everything you want across the top. We're just going to go over to columns and scroll down to customize columns. Select customize columns. And from here, we can add whatever we want. You can search for the KPIs you're looking for, or you can find them on the left-hand side down here. Now, I mentioned we want to include ad spend. So we'll do search for spent. And you can do amount spent today and also amount spent so that you have those numbers there. We're going to do link clicks. And then on the right hand side, you can rearrange these. Cost per click, we want that, remember? Cost per link click in particular. So we've got link clicks, cost per link clicks, and then you're going to want to select your website conversion. So you should already have your conversion set up, and you can go down and select the particular conversion that you optimize this campaign for. In this case, it's going to be buyer leads. So I'm going to put buyer leads under cost per click, and then I'll search cost per buyer lead. So that's going to give me lead and cost per lead right there. And since these leads are going straight to my client, I don't really need to worry about cost per sale or anything like that for this campaign. So I need to worry about clicks, cost per click, lead, cost per lead. And then, of course, we want to know our relevance score and our cost per 1,000 impressions. So let's put that in there. And then down below, we have things like delivery, reach, things like that, budget, amount spent. I want to keep all that stuff in there just so I can see what's going on with the campaign. But you got to make sure you have these basics so that we can record that in the spreadsheet every day. So I'm going to go down to apply. And then I can go ahead and set this as default in this campaign. So just save it so you don't have to set this up every time you log into your account. So you can see now I can determine how much I've spent today, how many link clicks, the cost per link click, how many leads. You can see I have 3 leads over here at $4 a lead, my cost per impressions, and then some other info if I need to dive in deeper. Now, if I go through to the ad level, like I mentioned, relevancy score is only at the ad level, so I can jump in here. And like I said, you also need 500 impressions. So today this has only been shown to 78 people. If I want to see the relevance score, I'm going to need to go on a bigger time window. So there I am in the last 7 days. I have a relevant score of 10. That's why I'm getting such cheap leads. You can see I've been getting leads for $1.84 on this campaign, and that's because it is relevant to my audience. So let's jump into recording our stats. There's a link below this video to the basic recording spreadsheet. This is linked to in other places in the program. And this is where we're going to record our stats on a daily basis, taken from our dashboard that we just set up. So here is our spreadsheet. You can see we have ad spend, clicks, cost per click, click-through rate, number of leads, cost per lead, and CPM. Now some of these are going to be auto-calculated for you, so you don't have to put everything in. For example, cost per click is going to be derived from your ad spend and the number of clicks. So that will calculate for you every single day. Just go through on a daily basis with a new campaign, and you're going to record your stats here. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to figure out what your target KPI should be, and then what to do if you're not within those KPIs. We'll get into that next.